for tuning in to the Voice of Pancreatic Cancer podcast. I'm your host, Miranda Weinberg with the Seena Magowitz Foundation. And if you don't know about us, if it's your first time tuning in, the Seena Magowitz Foundation is a nonprofit committed to raising awareness for pancreatic cancer. All of our funds go directly to pancreatic cancer research. So I'm super excited today to welcome our guest. It's Marisa Harris. She is a 24-year pancreatic cancer survivor and also a health and life coach specifically for pancreatic cancer patients. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's a pleasure, an honor to be here, pleasure to be here. So thank you, Miranda, for this invitation.
So Marisa, why don't we just start from the beginning, from your diagnosis?
So in one moment, I thought I was leading a wonderful, fabulous life. I had this fantastic job as head of human resources for a great organization, 3 daughters, a great husband, a great home in New York City. And there was a lump, a hard lump in my groin, which led me to have a surgery, a biopsy, and led me to be in front of this leading oncologist who told my husband and told me that I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And he described all the stages: stage 1, curable; stage 2, treatable, and sometimes curable; 3, treatable. And then he said, "But Marisa, your cancer is not treatable. It's not curable, and there's absolutely nothing that we can do, and nothing that you can do to get well again." And in that moment, it's like my whole world that I knew fell apart. It felt like the ground beneath my feet was shaking, and I couldn't say a word. And I knew, Miranda, that my husband was going to ask a question that I did not want to be asked. It's like I didn't have a voice. I couldn't speak. I couldn't get my eyes off of my thighs. And he said to the doctor, he said, "Stage 4 cancer? What does this mean in terms of Marisa's lifespan?" And the oncologist sort of said, "Well, it's hard, to predict exactly." And my husband, Bob, said, "Well, based on your experience, how much time does she have left?" And he said, 4 to 6 months, maybe 9 months, if she's really, really lucky. And at that moment, I found my voice again, and I said, "But there has to be something that can be done. What about diet?" He kept shaking his head. "What about supplements? What about chemotherapy?" It's like I couldn't believe that I was almost begging for chemotherapy. I mean, that's how much everything just changed in my life. And he said, "Nothing's going to help you. And chemotherapy would just make you sicker than you already are now. And there's just nothing that can be done." And then he got up and he said to us, he said, "Well, I hope you're not going to do any of those alternative things." And it sort of shows where I was in my life, because my husband and I both said, "Oh, no, of course not." He actually patted me on the shoulder and said, "Good girl." And he walked out. And as he walked out, I said to him, "What about a support group? Is there a support group?" And he looked at me, he said, "I don't know." He said, "Ask my girl." This is 1998. So I went, we left that office and spoke to the person at the desk. And I asked her if she knew about a support group. And she said, "I don't know." She said, "Maybe American Cancer Society. This is a hospital." I left that place feeling that I was already dead, that I didn't have 4 to 6 months, that I had died inside already. And of course, we went to get second opinions and third opinions, and it was very much the same thing. My husband insisted that we need a change of environment. And right now I live in Connecticut. I lived then in New York City. Upstate New York, there's a place called Omega, which is a learning, meditation, spiritual center. And he signed us up for some introductory workshop. I didn't want to go. I mean, would you want to go be around people after you just heard this? But he was hurting so much that I agreed to go. And as we left to walk up the hill to our cottage, this woman taps me on the shoulder and says, Marisa, can I talk to you for a moment? And I agreed. And she said, Marisa, I have an Uncle Louie who 10 years ago was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and given at best 2 months to live. I remember it was a really dark night. There wasn't a moon out. There wasn't any stars. But I swear, in that moment, it's like all the stars in the heaven came out. And I just thought, I don't have to die. He had 2 months to live. I have maybe even 9 months to live. And I decided that I was going to be an Uncle Louie. But I decided that I didn't have to die, that not everyone died of pancreatic cancer. And I wanted to see my 3 daughters grow up. And I decided that I was going to dance with my husband at all 3 of their weddings. And none of them had a serious boyfriend at the time. And I even took that out further. I decided that I was going to be a grandmother. I'd never had a grandmother. I didn't have grandfather. My grandparents died. But I saw myself wheeling a baby stroller in Central Park because that was going to give me the motivation, the energy, the belief system to not listen to the statistics, to not listen to the negativity. And one other, and Miranda, just interrupt me if I'm going on too long.
No, not at all.
So I'm head of human resources. Most people know about HR. They know one of the things that you do a lot of is hire people. I was never have hired someone who believed that we were going to fail in our mission. I never would have signed off on a hire. I had, in a sense, hired someone who only believed that I was going to die, that there was absolutely nothing could be done. And the research was not showing that. The research was showing that our frame of mind had a huge impact on the results we got, and especially quality of life, which very much led to extended life. That nutrition made a big difference. All the things that I had asked. And so I decided that I was absolutely going to find an oncologist, a brilliant, impeccably trained, well-experienced oncologist who absolutely believed in the possibility I could get well again and was enthusiastic about helping me. And after seeing 20 different doctors, I found that doctor.
20 doctors. Wow.
The best I was getting was, I think we could buy some time.
But you didn't stop.
Buy some time was not, I was looking for, I kept on saying, would you believe there is at least a possibility that I could get well again? And I was getting over and over again, no possibility. There's no way in the world that you're ever going to recover from this.
Wow. And then what was the name of the doctor?
Mitchell Gaynor. And he was a general oncologist. He was not a specialist in GI cancers, but he had the reputation and the experience of working with people who all had metastases. Most of them were stage 4. They had come from other doctors who had given up on them, and he was getting exceptional results. mean, we absolutely need to be with a doctor who believes in the possibility that we can get well again, that's caring, that's compassionate. And I made a decision, the most important decision I think I've ever made, that I'm not going to die before I'm dead, and that I'm going to use this time to make this the most wonderful time of my life.
Wow. So then, after you found this doctor that, believed that you could be well again, and he gave you the diet and his treatment, and now here you are. I mean, how many years was it before you were officially declared like cancer-free?
So, he absolutely believed that I should do chemotherapy. He absolutely believed it would help me. But the idea of losing my hair was so frightening. There was a part of me, and I finally told him. I was so ashamed to even say it. But there was a part of me that felt I'd rather die than lose my hair. It was so horrifying for me. And I knew that I would lose all my hair and my eyebrows and my eyelashes. But when I told him, he said to me, sometimes we have to lose something that we're so attached to, that means so much to us, that we're so identified with, in order to find out who we really are. And I decided that maybe I could still feel okay about myself, even if I didn't have my hair. Said to Dr. Gaynor, I said, I need, before I can do the chemotherapy, I really have to change my mind about it. And he recommended that I see this person I saw probably for about 3 times to work on, so that when I walked into the chemotherapy room, I had actually made these pretty little hearts, and I stuck them on that IV pole. And I had my feeling inside of me that this was going to absolutely be part of my healing program, and this enormous gratitude that I had to the men and women and to organizations like yours, to you who devoting you could be doing so many things with your life, and look what you're doing. And I think because of that, I go back to the importance, which is so ignored, of our mind and our emotional state, and that it has an enormous impact on the results that we get. And we know it often in our relationships. We know it often in our work world, that if we're negative about it, it's, if you didn't believe in what you were doing and find joy and meaning in it, it would change not only everything for you, but for other people as well. But somehow we don't seem to realize that it works the same way with our health. So I'm in the chemo room. I'm putting the hearts up on the pole, on the IV pole. People are looking at me. It's my first time there. They think, oh my God, who is this crazy person? But I shared, and it
worked.
But it worked. And I decided I was not going to do anything, whether it was taking these supplements and all these vegetable drinks and the wheatgrass and then the very targeted meditations. I wasn't going to do it unless I firmly believed that it could help me live longer and live happier.
It's just everything you shared. It's such a huge part of the motivation of why we do what we do, and why Roger named the Seena Magowitz Foundation. Our tagline is the face and voice of pancreatic cancer, because just like you shared, I mean, your voice, your testimony, your story, Marisa, is so powerful. And it's incredible to hear the testimonies of people like you that didn't take no for an answer. Well, I just want to thank you so much for your time. I mean, I think we could probably talk for hours. We needed episode 2 of this podcast for sure.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.